Alright. So I thought, why don't we talk a little bit about the build that I did this league in Keepers of the Flame, since it was all new to me and it wasn't really the best experience I've had in terms of like starting a league out, having a plan for a build that I wanted to do, and then executing on that plan. It didn't go quite as smooth as I kind of had hoped it would. And I ran into, like, I would say, issues that kind of made me not like the build like a whole lot. And at that point, I should probably have like swapped to something different. I would, in my opinion, I would have been better off doing like kinetic blast of clustering or something else like that, right? Like some giant AoE scale where you can just stand in the middle of the hive, for instance, and you don't actually have to, because that was really one of the like major issues with this league, was that the new breach mechanic is kind of skewed towards massive AoE builds and not necessarily a melee build. And if you are playing a melee build, you're having a lot harder of a time than if you play something that is just massive AoE, right? So I would certainly have been better off with like lightning arrow, whatever, right? Like something else that's just massive AoE and you can stand in one spot and you don't really have to move since all the monsters comes towards you. And something that has like really good range as well as AoE. And this build, although once you get to a certain point, it becomes insane. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on the build itself per se. I'm just kind of pointing out that as a newer player, stuff like this is kind of stuff that would like not feel as good to do if it's like one of your like your league starting build. Now I did start out the build as a righteous fire chieftain. Basically I used the Pox's build, right? Because that build, I've played that before, I've gotten it to level 100, so I know kind of how everything works. I know how to manage it and what to scale and what to do to make the power high, and or like not high but make the power real good so you don't feel squishy and stuff like that. But my biggest mistake was thinking that I would be able to swap into this Molten Strike of the Zenith very very early on, which honestly I probably shouldn't have done. As I said, I should have stayed with some other skill. That would have been a better progression towards getting to the point where I'm at now. So just to quickly like give you an idea of where I'm at with this build, let me pull up my stats real quick. So we have 196 intelligence and 202 dexterity and nearly 2500 strength, which is what you're doing here is strength stacking. Basically strength stacking is where a lot of your damage is going to come from. Basically all your damage is going to come from, due to, for instance, stuff like these boots right here, which gives you chaos damage equal to 80% or per 80%, not 80%, sorry, 80 strength, like 80 flat strength you have. The more strength you have, the higher chaos damage you do. So I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to swap into this build as early as I did. And it caused me a lot of grief and it caused me a lot of problems. And on top of that, we also basically have played what I would consider a poverty league, right? If I go here and we look at my pilfering ring, for instance, you'll be able to see how many raw divines I have picked up this league so far. And I can then, on the other hand, we can do /played here to kind of show the time I've spent on it, which is 14 days and 20 hours so far. And basically 2 divine a day, almost less than 2 divine a day, which is nothing. Well, that being said, I was exceptionally lucky on my on my early game, I did get, when I did my Eater of World and Exarch, I managed to be really, really, really freaking lucky and get a Forbidden Flesh and a Forbidden Flame. And then afterwards, I did a bunch of these Eater of World altars and stuff, and then got another invite, and that other invite also gave me a Forbidden Flesh. So I basically got back to back to back Forbidden Jewels, which is really uncommon, to be fair. That is not something that would normally happen. It's something that's like kind of like insane that it did happen. And it turned out that, well, the flame wasn't too good. It was like 4 divine, but the first flesh was like 30 some divine, and the second one I got was like 60 divine. So I basically made like 90 divine, like super quick. And that was really, really nice. But as you know, with me, I don't necessarily take that 90 divine and directly invest it into my build immediately. What I like to do is a different investment strategy where kind of like with the stock market and other stuff, I like to invest into certain things that I know over time will go up in value, and therefore it wouldn't depreciate my divine value, basically. So let's say I had kept the 90 divines. If like when a month has passed, those 90 divines is worth way less than they were back when I got them, right? So what I did was I invested my divines into 2 locks, which I got for, like, one was like 25 divine and the other one was like 31 divine. And then I spent the rest of that currency I had left over to then invest into the build. And then I just kept my 2 locks for a good amount of time, up until the point where they were worth nearly 100 divine. And that's when I basically exchanged one of my locks to gain this amulet right here. And this amulet is basically best in slot, right? Like, it's maybe not the best stats on it, right? But it's still the best of, like, best in slot type of amulet for this build. So that's why I kind of wanted to save it a little, like save my divines a little bit or save my locks a little bit, and then invest into it when I felt like that this amulet would put me over the top in terms of damage and like just give me that extra oomph to the build. And yeah, so I did early start of the build, you could say. What I did was I played the Ricciarda's Dance. Before I went to Chaos Damage, I was using this. Although it's really, really decent, it wasn't too bad. It did okay, good damage. I was having so much trouble, even in T16 maps, just staying alive and not dying. And that was just a general problem. As you can tell, I've died 419 times, which I feel like is a lot, right? Like, if I compare this to last league, I played the Volcanic Fissure of Snaking as my beginning build, or as my league starter, and then I actually spent a ridiculous amount of divine on that. I think I spent like 400 divine on that build, something like that. And it, again, wasn't something that I personally enjoyed a lot. I think the build was not that great, to be fair. I didn't really like it that much. It was one of those builds that once I had spent all that divine, I had an expectation of more. Like I expected more out of it, you could say. And I can like quickly pull up that build real quick so you guys can see kind of what I'm talking about here. So this is basically the build that I started last league, right? So we have a decent axe, we have a decent helmet, a decent armor, a decent pair of gloves, decent boots, decent rings, the yoke, of course, headhunter, of course. We have progenesis, a couple of good things on here that's really like needed for this build in order for it to function. But as I said, it wasn't really a super I just didn't like it, man. It's just not for me, and that's what I realized. And then I was watching Captain Lance's stream, and he was basically developing a build around the Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice, which I can like pull up here, right here. This is then what I swapped into after the Volcanic Fissure, and this build cost me less than 100 divines. Like I spent around 80 divines on this build, but I was smart. I invested into all the expensive parts before he put out the video, and then a lot of those ports that I paid, like for instance this Rite of our Impossible Escape cost me like 6 or 7 divines, and then the second he put out the build, this went up to like 40 divines immediately. Stuff like that happened, right? So a lot of things went super crazy, but that Forbidden Rite build was able to do every piece of content in the game. It absolutely destroyed everything it got near, and I could do like 3 risk scarabs, abysses, and stuff like that, and it was no problem at all. Didn't really die much, just kept on gaining more and more and more currency because I didn't have to spend anything on it. And I have spent a whole lot of currency on this build so far, right? Like I've actually spent quite a bit of currency on this build now. And it just doesn't quite resemble, well, it does now, but earlier it didn't really, I didn't feel like I got, like if you think about divines spent and then accumulated power and tankiness gained, I didn't feel like I got that much out of it. If I compare it to the Forbidden Rite build, for instance, or previously on Settlers when I did the Ice Nova Frostballs, I feel like that build that's still my favorite build of all time, and Forbidden Rite is for sure my second favorite build. But yeah, so I didn't really feel like this was that good, but I will say one thing. Once you get past the point where you can spend around 400 to 500 divine on the build, then it goes from being not the greatest thing, or like not as good, or like not feeling that good, to being really good, right? So at this point where I'm at now it feels insane. Like now it feels super good. There's not a lot of things wrong with the build now. It's just getting to this point, I feel like you're better off playing something different than accumulating all the currencies needed to get this gear and then playing this build, instead of doing like I did, where I just basically swapped into this build so early that I had like 3 or 4 divine invested in it, and that was not fun. That was really a bad experience. I would say the minimum you want to be spending on this build to have it feel really good is like 400 divine. That's basically the bare minimum, like the price of entrance, you could say. So I'll pull out Conors POB here, which is what I followed, and I really like this POB once you get to this point. Mind you, I am missing parts, right? Like there's parts here that I don't have because they are so expensive. So for first and foremost, I do not have a Nimbus. Nimbus is currently like 160 divines or something like that, and I wasn't ready. Like I don't want to pay that much. Also, the Forbidden Rite not Forbidden Rite. What am I saying? Forbidden Flame, which is the Velicos, and yeah, they are like 250 divine also, like each, right? So that's something I don't want to spend. I don't want to spend that much. I don't want to spend like a mirror almost or more to get like these 2 jewels, even though it would provide me a lot more tankiness. I know that. I just don't really want to spend that much, right? Like it's a little bit extreme. And of course I don't have the Awakened Greater Multi, because that would basically, I would have to have the Nimbus to have that. So since I don't have Nimbus, there was no point in getting this. And I've made do without those parts, and it still feels extremely good, but it's still a massively high investment build. It's not League starter friendly. However, as I said, now that I have invested a bunch of currency into it, now it does feel really good. But I wouldn't advise people to do this as a League starting build. It's just very harsh to get to a certain, like, or to get to the point where it feels really good. I want to go over my gear real quick so you guys have an idea of what the current gear situation actually is. So I crafted this weapon, and big shout out to Sturk for helping me with that. That's a really, really nice guy I met. So also placed this build, and he helped me craft this because I wasted like 20 divines attempting to craft it, but I had misunderstood how some parts of the craft actually functions, and for that reason I fucked up a bunch of pre-crafts of this sword, basically, right? So once I was talking with him and he walked me through it, it was a lot easier to understand what to do and what not to do. And it turned out pretty decent, I would say. I'm not unhappy with it. Could it be better? Sure, it could be better. But as of now, this is like good enough for what I'm doing, I would say. So I'm really happy with it. I'm not disappointed, you could say. And then we have a pair of energy shield gloves here. Also pretty happy with them. Could they be better? Sure, they could be a bit better, but I'm happy with where we're at. I'm not looking to get perfect gear for this character at all, because the league is not great. So when the league is not great, I'm not wanting to like invest everything into my build and max it out, right? And then we have this ring right here, which is a stat ring, basically. Also decent ring, not bad. It could be a little bit better, sure, but it has what I needed. We have the helico ring, which I also crafted myself. This was a little bit tougher of a craft to get done. And also I was super unlucky that when I reforged life, it sadly filled up the prefixes, and filling up the prefixes meant that I got a tier 9 cold damage, which is pretty shitty. What I would want was a open prefix, so I could have crafted the non-channeling skills instead. That would have been a way better outcome for this ring. But besides that part, I'm really happy with the outcome and how good it is, and I'm definitely not sure, like, attempting to craft another one. This is plenty for me at the point we're at right now. And of course, as I said, we got the simplex here, which also really, really good. Like, this really put me up over the top on damage wise, and gave me a lot more life as well. Then we have our crown of ice, which I just continuously picked them up and corrupted them until I hit the plus aura skills, because I have my aura sitting in here. So that was like that's kind of what I wanted to get. And also I kind of wanted one that was like somewhat high rolled on the leech life and leech mana, so that way I didn't have to like worry too much about that. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out, and this is pretty good roll, so nothing to complain about here. Then of course we got our replica Alvarons, which I got really early on. I made sure to buy these super early on, and I think I paid 3 divines or something like that. And yeah, I was really happy with these. Actually didn't use them for a long time, because I used the Ricciata sword, so I didn't use these for a very long time. But I made sure that to like get them as fast as I could, so I knew I had them in the stash. And then on top of that, I crafted this build as well. Sadly, this did not turn out as well as I was hoping. It filled up the prefixes yet again when I was reforging life, and then I don't really want to YOLO a null to see if I can remove a prefix, and then to basically reforge life again, because the outcome that I got was not great. Although the prefix or the suffixes is pretty perfect, the prefixes is pretty shitty, and we would have been way better off with tier 1 life, tier 1 armor, energy shield, whatever, right? That would have been a way better outcome for me. But I'm happy enough with how it turned out, so I kept it. And then we have the armor. The armor, again, I crafted it myself. Pretty happy with it. Honestly, I've been crafting a separate armor as well, as I can show you right here in my Delve stash. Since I found this one with 26 quality on it, I thought, why not try and see if I can hit all T1 stats on the prefixes instead. And sadly, it's not been going my way on this one, so I have not given up on it, but I just cut down on the amount of divines I've been spending on the dense fossils, since that's the way I crafted the first one. It's just spamming dense fossils with a regular one I was about to call it recombinator, but it's called a resonator. And then that way I got the T1, T2, T2 armor and armor and energy shield. And I'm pretty happy with it. 3.3k armor and 677 energy shield. It's not bad, honestly. It's pretty decent. So I'm happy with it. I got the reforged chaos until I hit chaos, a decently high chaos resist and a decent strength mod, which was kind of hard to get actually. That didn't come easy. But once I did hit it, I was super happy and I just stuck with it as is. I could, as you can see, I could re-roll it again and try to get T1 chaos and T1 strength, but it's at this point it's not too important for me. I'm almost 2500 strength and it does enough damage now to feel really good. It's still lacking a little bit of tankiness, but that's of course due to a couple of other things. Valico being one of them. Also not having progenesis and stuff like that kind of lets down the build a little bit, but I do have progenesis and replica roomies and some other stuff in my standard stash. So once this goes to standard, I'll just give it all the flasks and whatnot, and then it should be way more tanky that way. Yeah, and then I also leveled up all my gems pretty much to level 21. There's still a couple missing. As you can see here, the Enduring Cry is not at level 21, but a lot of the others are all level 21 gems as at this point. And that really also helped a lot. Well, of course, the Molten Strike is not level 21. You want a 23 quality instead. That's kind of better, so that's why I went that direction. We are still missing a level 21 Arctic armor. The other ones I believe are all a level 21 if I remember correctly here. Oh no, this one is not. That's right. Yeah, that is okay. So I'm still leveling gems, as you'll see. That's what I'm doing on my second hand here, just to gain the last couple of gems level 21. And then besides that, if we go to my tree here, I can go over a couple of things. Well, I did a big mistake here too, where I was alt spamming the cluster jewels and then regaling them whenever I hit like two of the mods that I kind of wanted on there, not knowing that there was a way better way to do that. So I jumped on Conors' stream because I was getting frustrated with how many alteration warps I had spent on trying to craft this jewel, which is what you want to have double marshals and then you want graceful, because that way the marshals are sitting in the right spots here. And doing that with alts and regals is absolutely dumb. Do not do that. You want to use 3 resonator, and then you want to use the right combination, which was pristine. Let me think. It was pristine. Oh shit! Did I pristine? And the speed one is called what again? Shuddering. So pristine, shuddering, and dense is what I used, and that way I hit them basically right away. Like it took no time to get them, and then we just added another stat on there with an exalt, and then I used the recraft the bench to synthesize them to gain another stat. Sadly, a lot of them turned out really bad, as you'll see here. I haven't synthesized this one yet, but I did synthesize this one up here. And this one gave me cold damage, the other one gave me fire damage. Both of them is kind of ass for me, so that I was hoping for attack speed or something else, right? Like attribute would have been nice, whatever. But yeah, so we got all those 3 jewels settled, and then I went on a crafting spree to craft my small clusters, which also turned out fairly okay, I would say. Actually, it wasn't too bad. We got the wall of muscle on there on both of them, which is the important part, and we got some armor, some chaos resistance, a little bit of attributes and whatnot. And yeah, it's actually not too bad in my opinion. Then we got the split personality, strength intelligence, and strength life on here as well. Made sure to get these really early on too, so they were kind of cheap as well. We got the lethal pride here, which is basically really freaking good, to be honest. So we have melee damage, we have, that doesn't matter, we have increased strength, we have life leech, we have increased strength, strength flat, increased strength, and increased strength. All really useful, right? And I got this super cheap too, because I bought it really early on. So I think I paid like 1 or 2 divine for that. That was super cheap. Then of course we have all of our like regular jewels. Some of them are synthesized, some of them are not, but most of them has the same type of stats on there. So like it's either stat like strength or attributes and attack speed and life. That's pretty much what I went for with most of them. And then of course some of them has some resistances just to kind of cap my resistances. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome here as well. Not unhappy with these at all. Pretty much all of them are good enough to where I'm not swapping them. I'm not gonna go try and craft better ones, or yeah, I'm staying with them for now. That's for sure. But yeah, so you can tell that the gear is not bad at all. It's pretty decent. And now the survivability is pretty decent. Also the damage is pretty decent. So I'm not unhappy now, but getting to this point was a pain in the ass. And I would highly recommend going a different route than I went for a league starter. Just, you don't want to go through the same pain point that I had to go through, especially not if it's a league where there's no divine drops. Then it becomes even harder. And yeah, it's that was just a tough experience to get through. Besides that, of course, I really want to shout out Connor, especially one of the guys in his chat, and I've sadly forgotten the name of the dude right now. I don't fully remember, but he helped me out so much too. I sent him my POE. Well, I sent him the link to my ninja, and then he looked up the POB. And he helped me out a lot, explaining how certain things worked and what I did wrong. And that also, it just helped a lot. And then of course, Connor shouting out how to craft the jewels did also help extremely. Like that just saved me so much currency and time. Most importantly, the time save was the crazy part. Because I'd already spent like 4 hours or something like that attempting to craft them, and never, like, haven't hit one yet. And then I jumped in, saw he was on, jumped on his stream, asked him, and he shouted it out. And then it took me like 15 minutes to make those 3. So really happy with that. I did get the goals done that I had set for myself this league, which was like reaching level 100 and getting the armor set from the 40/40 challenges. So I got all that done. I'm pretty happy with that. However, I haven't done any of the Ubers at all. I haven't really done any T17 maps either, just because, well, I have done one T17 map, but that's just to get the Scarab, the map device Scarab unlock here, so I can put more Scarabs in. That's the only reason I did a T17, because up until, well, like 2 weeks ago, I really wasn't even able to do them proper. I died so much on them. It was just attempting it, and it kind of like broke my will to do it. And I attempted to do the Whoopers, a handful of them. Sadly, wasn't able to complete any of them. Instant died pretty much on every one of them. Just got one tapped immediately, and I gave up on those. But that was kind of the last goal I had for this league, was doing, or not goal, but that was my plan for grinding this league, was grinding the Uber bosses over and over. And sadly, that did not work out in my favor. However, I did do some delve to like kind of test out how it felt, and yeah, the build feels really decent in delve. I'm happy. Like, this is where it really shines. I feel like this is where it just incredibly strong in here. Really good build for delve. Like, that is, I don't know if it's the best build, but I would say it's up there with the best builds, if not the best build. Definitely feels like it's insane in delve. In maps, it's a little bit different story. It's still really good, but the lack of AoE and range is kind of it slows everything down. So it's not the greatest mapper in my opinion. It's good. It's good. It's not bad, but it's just not the greatest, right? Like I've played a lot of other builds that felt a lot better than this did. I will say also that I of course will leave a link to this POB first and foremost, because I feel like this is the entry to the build. I feel like once you have this gear, you're good to go, but without like somewhat this gear, it's not gonna feel as good. And I will of course leave the link to the OP version of the build, which is this one, but this is multiple mirrors, so I will not be getting this type of gear here. This is just too much time I have to spend in order to accumulate this. However, I do have, like, I have the Dying Sun, I have the Roomies, I have the Progenesis. All those is in standard, just sitting in my stash waiting. So whenever this goes to standard, I can just swap these flasks on, no problem. I don't have a Nimbus though, but it is what it is. I can live without that. I feel like it's a really, really good ring for sure, but is it really worth it with how well the build performs right now? I don't think so. I'm happy with how it goes and how it works. Yeah, so that's basically my take on the Molten Strike of the Zenith. Great build once it gets to a certain point. Up until that point, it's quite a rough travel. I think that's the overall like points I would like. That's how I would explain the build to a newer player if it was me presenting it to somebody. And yeah, I hope you all like the video. You can always catch me in the live stream if you want to. I stream live every Thursday and on YouTube, and every Tuesday on Twitch. And yeah, besides that, shout out to you, Connor. I'll leave a link for your channel in the description, of course. And as always, I hope you all have a good day, good evening, whatever it is for you. And I will catch you all in the next one.